So how do the Rolling Stones sound so good?
I don't know.
How does he do it?
I know I can do it, but I don't know how I do it. That's another thing.
Well, I'll tell you, Keith Richards is amazing, but there's more to his playing than meets the eye. Keith is a master of feel, and he's a master of the riff. So today I'm going to show you some of his secrets and how he gets that amazing, powerful sound. So the riffs in the Rolling Stones songs, or actually many great rock songs, are all based around the boogie woogie beat, which is the boogie woogie beat itself is moving back and forth between two notes, right? And it creates this sense of movement within the music. But even within that framework of two notes, there's a lot of different ways you can create feel and momentum. And there's just so many Rolling Stones songs are based on that. In a minute, I'm going to show you some Keith Richards riffs and how he actually uses this stuff. But first, let's break it down to the real basic different patterns you can use of this basic rock and roll rhythm. So if you look there on the screen, these are the 5 basic patterns. So the first one I call the Memphis beat because it's from Chuck Berry. And it's just back and forth like that, straight 8th notes. It comes from the Chuck Berry song Memphis. And then, of course, if you speed that up, it just becomes like a steady flow. Okay, so the next one is the Chuck Berry beat, which is a variation on this, which is what you hear in songs like Johnny Be Good. And that's where you're playing the same thing, but you're emphasizing or accenting the downbeats. So you get this effect. So the way you can do that is just start by playing everything soft like this. And on the 1, hit it harder, 1, like that. And then same thing on the 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you get this rocking back and forth between the downbeats, and it creates this amazing kind of momentum. And then another variation on that is the snapback, where it's the same thing, but this time we're gonna play the power chord, A5, and then go to the A6 here, and then back to the A5. So you get this like that. So instead of, you're gonna get like that. So a lot of times create these interesting rhythms by mixing those two together. Like for example, doing the basic Chuck Berry beat and then doing the snapback. Okay, then another variation is the push, which is where you come in just before the beat, like this. And that gives it a real sense of excitement and anticipation. And an easy way to do that is just start on an upstroke. So it'd be 3, 4, and. So you come in on the and, 3, 4. The final one we're looking at is just the stab, which is where you just basically accent with downbeats like this. I hear a lot of rock players doing that when they're playing, you know, like. So there's 5 different beats, and you can start to create some really interesting stuff by mixing all this together. So starting off with the basic beat, putting the snap back in there, adding in the push. So you can see there's a million different variations just with those 2 notes. Now imagine what happens when you take it to the next level and you add 1 more note, which is what happens a lot. For example, a common thing to do is to go up to the flat 7. So you go to that note there. So you're adding in 1 note to the mix, and there's a whole myriad of different things you can do then. So you know, for example, accenting on that flat 7 with a push. That's a very common thing to hear in a Rolling Stones song. And then you can start to add more and more notes to this to create these signature sounds. So you can also add in a 4th, which gives you this sound. So just basically like hammering on to the chord there. So you get this kind of effect. Or what about adding in a rollover on the A string, which is where you put in a minor third and a major third. So you start to add all that together, flat 7, 4th, roll over, do the snapback, and then a push on the flat 7. Add a rollover in. You know, there's a million variations, and you can see how when you start to kind of weave those licks, it becomes like a signature riff for a song.
I mean, to me, as I say, you know, guitar playing is neither one or the other. That without a riff, there's nothing to solo on.
So Keith Richards is a master of mixing and matching and using all those different rhythmical ideas. So if you take a look at the song, for example, Miss Amanda Jones by the Stones, that song is a tour de force, and it shows Keith Richards' amazing guitar playing. You know, I mean, in a lot of the later stuff, he would be playing on a telly with just 5 strings at open G, but sometimes he'd be playing in standard tunings with a 6 string on a Gibson. So Miss Amanda Jones starts like this. Actually, it's really surprising the way it starts, because it starts with this riff in 3/4 like this, kind of a swung 3/4. So he starts with that little cool fuzzy sounding riff like that, like a 60s waltz, but then he drops into the Chuck Berry beat. And he plays it like that. The technique he's doing there is basically where he's toggling between the 6th and the 5th string. So he's getting that kind of toggling back and forth. That sound gives it a lot of dynamic just with the moving back and forth. Then the band kicks in and it's just this raucous, chaotic kind of sound. It's in the key of B flat, and he's starting off by playing that basic beat, basic Chuck Berry beat. And then he goes up to the extension right here, and he does that syncopation where he's accenting the upbeats, a signature Stones thing. So it's... And then the next time he plays it, it's the same thing, but this time he does a kind of a reverse snapback like this. So it jumps up to the 6th, and then he does that syncopation again. So, and then he jumps down to the toggling riff. And that's a cool little thing that he does there, where he's adding in the octave. So he's doing that toggling riff with the push, but when he hits that push, he's adding in the octave note. So you get this. And then he goes to the 4 chord, Chuck Berry, 5 chord, and so on. So, you know, that's an example of how Keith Richards is using those pushes and the snapbacks and just those different variations on that boogie woogie beat. So how you can practice this is start in an easier key, just start in A or something, and take these ideas and see if you can start to create your own riffs by mixing these together. You know, and then you can start to be a bit more creative, start to throw in a little bit of that weaving lead. You know, those little slides. So, and that becomes part of the signature sound of your song. And then once you've got that down, then start to throw in some lead licks as well, because once you've got that rhythm really kind of programmed into your muscle memory, it's kind of like the lead becomes just an extension of that. So imagine going from that note and then just sliding up one more note. You know, just like Memphis or something. So you can start to kind of weave in your lead playing around that. So anyway, I hope you have fun with this, and maybe you can create some cool signature riffs of your own. And I appreciate you watching, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for leaving the comments, and, just let me know what are your favorite Rolling Stones riffs. But most of all, remember, turn it up.